Hello, welcome back to Everlasting Summer. Oh, I finally got it. Something Miku. I got something new in this when I'm mining here. I had to make a lot of weird choices to be able to do Miku's route. It's actually a bonus route that you have to get at least one good ending for before you can get it. You have to do at least one of the good endings for one of the other girls, and then you can do Miku's route. So that's why I wasn't able to do it. I went further and further. It seems there is no end to these tunnels, like I am trapped in the Minotaur's labyrinth, and the terrible creature will appear soon. I was exhausted and slowly slid down to the ground, leaning against the mine stamp walls. Where is that Shurg? And how many hours have I been walking around here? My eyes began to close, just for a minute. Hmm. Oh, okay. Because sometimes a dream is just a dream. One doesn't have to look it up on the internet, searching for an interpretation of a dream that invaded your dream world in such a rude manner. One doesn't have to assume that it's a sign, a prophecy, a prediction of the future. Sometimes a dream is just a dream, a beautiful story that is not going to happen in your real life, a fairy tale sketched by your resting brain and painted by your imagination. Sometimes a dream is just a dream, even if it comes in several parts. Hmm. I'm so tired of all this. Me? Wait, huh? Oh. I raised my eyes and saw a girl hanging over me. Okay. What exactly are you tired of? Everything. Masha, what? It's not like someone made you do this, or is still making you. What? Your name's Masha? What? It's not Miku? What? Well, it's not that simple. Oh, it is indeed quite that simple. You're always... Stop chatting. Come on, get to work. A voice that would brook no objections came from far away. The bus became empty in an instant. The girl I was arguing with stalked like a child, turned abruptly, clicked her heels, and headed to the exit. Her name was Masha. Okay, you ready? A woman appeared. Her face simultaneously expressed agony for the fates of the whole of humanity, arrogance, concentration, and fatigue. Yeah, sure. Excellent. Then, action. I didn't even realize when she left the bus and the camera appeared pointing at me. I've shut my eyes. That's right. I must be sleeping according to the script. How long must I sit like that? 10 seconds? 20? That should be enough. I slowly opened my eyes and started to sweep the bus with an ignorant look. That's it. I haven't got the slightest idea why I'm here. Why am I here? What is this? An Icarus? But why? So I have to put on the most surprised face that I've ever done. I should imagine that I'm sitting on a toilet, reading a book, and then the door suddenly swings open, and I see Jean Reno with a gun. William the Professional. Yeah, I know that movie. 1984. It's funny. It's a good movie. Pardon me, do you mind that I'm, pardon my French, doing number two here? Oh, he would surely be surprised. I just couldn't bear it and laughed out loud. Stop, stop, yelled the director. It's an outrage. We've already been shooting for a week, but we've still got less than nothing. She jumped close to me. What's the matter this time? Well, she would hardly appreciate my story about Jean Reno. I'm sorry. It was hard to look her in the eyes. It wasn't like I was really worried about me messing up yet another take, but mainly because I was afraid to break into laughter again. Okay, lunch break. Our director took off her Panama hat and began to fan herself with it. It's so hot. Well, it's summer after all. Shirk came out of thin air, proving himself to be quite observant. Duh, blockhead, you better take care of the camera. Shirk calmly dodged the Panama that was thrown at him and went back to his camera. He's always like that, calm, wise, and boring, dull, and quite predictable. I got out of the bus and headed to the canteen to grab a bite. And ran into Masha at the doors. So? Nothing. No surprise. No surprise. Would I have something to eat? Why is her name Masha? She stared at me for some time with an uncomprehending look. Okay, let's go. It's strange. It seems that Masha has already visited the canteen. What is it? Didn't she have time to have her lunch? I examined her thoroughly from behind. Her double ponytails were really long and wiggled from side to side, now and then hitting whatever they encountered on the way. Are you sure that you're comfortable with your hair like that? I asked Masha when we sat down at the table. What's the problem? Well, they're kinda way too long, no? It's a part of my character, dork. As if they were any shorter before that. She threw an angry glance at me and proceeded to violently stir the contents of her packet of instant noodles. One day I'm gonna get gastritis thanks to this diet. I already got it. Oh sure, I bet you have already drunk all the stage props together with these guys. And what's wrong with that? I'm not paid for this work, just so you know. It's hard, the leading role after all. I don't drink the cameras and filming tape. Oh, it's like you're going for an Oscar. Who knows, who knows. I reclined on the chair and lit up a cigarette. Just for your information, it's a children's camp here, in case you'd forgotten. Yeah, you see any kids around? Masha just sniffed and didn't reply. And, by the way, all the great ones had to start with something. Some of them, for instance, started with a graduation project. Not a single sane human would ever think of shooting such wild garbage. She gazed warily around with an intimidated look, making sure that nobody except us was at the canteen, and continued. Only our Olga Dmitrievna would. It's not like someone made you do it. Oh yeah? Masha said slowly with bitterness in her voice. Like I had any choice, or you did, or anyone else. Well, for starters, you could have proposed another subject. To propose a subject? What subject? All this time, Masha had been sprinkling salt over her noodle cup, and it seemed she wasn't going to stop. I see you like it spicy. What? I directed my gaze at her cup. Ah. She slammed the salt shaker down the table and sadly dropped her eyes to the small hill of salt that, like an iceberg fighting global warming, just refused to dissolve in the broth. Oh, come on. I suddenly felt sorry for Masha. Anyway, I could hardly digest this crap. Sandwiches are way better. Here. I pushed my bowl in her direction. She took it silently and began to eat. Won't you even thank me? But it's completely your fault. What exactly? You distracted me and I... Anyway, it's your fault. Ah, whatever. Masha kept eating in silence. I finished smoking and stubbed the cigarette on the corner of the table. Why do you smoke, man, huh? What exactly don't you like about it? Well, it's actually fine, if you get used to it. Lovely noodles. No smoking in the canteen. I looked at Masha in a way that made clear exactly how silly and irrelevant her answer was. Ah, you're talking about the movie. About the movie. Take my character, for example. Although never mind using it as an example. It's the worst part of the script. Were you even reading this as you wrote it? For the first 2 days, then laziness took over. Well, I read it. So what? Does it seem normal to you? What exactly? Character. My character. What's the problem with it? I decided to play the fool till the end. Stop mocking me. If looks could kill, my death would have been a pretty painful one. Alright. Calm down. Masha fixed her gaze on me. What's the matter with your character? Just a normal retarded girl. Hey, there's so many around anyway, no? She turned red at first, then blue, and then she turned green. I'm not sure that the changing of colors on her face during a fraction of a second was really like that, but either way, Masha looked scary. That was not nice. You know, that's disgusting, she said, suddenly getting a grip. I think it's perfectly normal. The cast of a movie, or a book, for that matter, can't consist only of cute, smart, and sexy characters. We still need supporting roles. Supporting, but not retarded. It's not like we don't encounter them in real life. But I'm not like that. But you're not playing yourself after all. Her stubbornness started to get on my nerves. People will watch it and say, Masha is a retard. I covered my face with hands and put my head down on the table. Okay, and what do you suggest now? I don't know. Everything is just bad. Will it get better if you just keep crying and moaning? I'm not moaning. Oh, like I can't hear it. Well, I'd prefer if I couldn't. You know what? I opened one eye and looked up at the enraged Masha. What? You're just an incestive jerk. As you say, mademoiselle. And... She didn't manage to finish the phrase. The door burst open and a cheerful shout reached us. Masha-nyan, Semyon-kun. Oh, here comes another raving lunatic. Oh lord, what have I done wrong? I turned my head and glanced skeptically at the girl who ran into the canteen. Sasha. One of the main characters. Sasha! If we compare Sasha in real life with the character she's going to play, then Masha's words about the injustice of this world don't seem that meaningless. However, on the bright side, one can't ignore Sasha's acting talent. She really becomes a totally different person on the screen. I told you like 1,000 times, don't you ever call me Masha-nyan. Masha gritted her teeth. Sasha! Okay, then it would be Masha. Can I? Are they, like, playing characters right now or something? Sasha snatched the chair, moved it closer, and sat beside me. Freaking cuckoo. How do people like that enter college in the first place? Yeah, what are you talking about? Sasha seemed to ignore Masha's opinion of her professional impropriety. Oh, we were just discussing what exactly Masha and Yan doesn't like about our script. Just you wait till I beat the Nyan out of you. She tried to land a punch on my forehead, but I dodged, and her first fist slammed down the table. Sasha gave a brief cry and started shivering. See how discontented she is? A curious young mind, which doesn't seek any compromises, ready for long, painstaking work, for self-sacrifice and denial of the fragile material world, and all for what? For the truth. Wow, you're so smart. Sasha murmured and hugged my arm. Too bad you were not. Hey, no, you're hopeless. This guy is so mean. I'll take that as a compliment. Masha fetched her phone out of her pocket and checked the time. Okay, time to get going. Where are you going? You only appear starting day 2. It's you who should get going, dork. Me too, me too. Sasha jumped around, still clinging to my arm. I guess so. I got up, pushed the chair back under the table, and looked over at Masha. See you. Oh, get going. She snorted and turned away. Itakimasu. Get lost, you. Just as I reached my ear, Sasha shot past me with empty noodle packets trailing in her wake. Oh, there's Russian and a little Japanese in this novel. It's cute. I was sitting in the bus, flipping through the script lazily. So, which idiot wrote this? Oh yeah, that would be me. I put aside the stack of sloppily stapled printed pages and fixed my sight outside the window. Indeed, it was really hot. Even without Shirk being Captain Obvious, it was hot. Let's take the asphalt, for example. It doesn't care that just yesterday was winter according to the script. You know it has to be melting right here and now. And the grasshoppers don't care, they just keep rehearsing. By the way, which of them do the chirping? Is it the crickets or the grasshoppers or cicadas? Nah, those screech. Aw, I don't even have any internet handy for a quick check. Though, why would I? The script is all agreed on and approved and can't be edited at all. And anyway, who would care about the grasshoppers in our movie? Although, it would be a splendid idea for shooting a horror flick in the spirit of 50s US B movies. Like, for example, My Cousin is a Grasshopper, or The Cricket Day, One Flew Over the Cicada's Nest. If I have to spend 5 more minutes here, I'm gonna turn into an insect myself. Oh, why were there no air conditioners in old Soviet buses? Hey, hello, anyone home? A loudspeaker was pointed at me, and right behind it I recognized the face of Olga Dmitrievna through the melting air. Please leave your message after the... I felt a blow. Hey, you can't just smack the protagonist like that. Have you even read my tour rider? Shut up. This has to be the last take in the bus. I wanted this pretty bad myself. After all, it's better to be outside than stuck in this moving man melter. Shirk's camera was hanging over me. I acted as if I was really desperate about what was going on, raged across the bus, dashed outside, ran all around it, and finally collapsed down on the sidewalk. Cut! Olga Dmitrievna smiled approvingly. Well, seems like you are able to do it when you really want to. Sure, it seems that will is the most important thing. And now, meeting Slavia. Break maybe? Router prayed. We ain't here for a vacation. Off you go to your camera. He hung his head and shuffled off to his place. Action. I stared at the camp gates. I held my gaze on the statues of the pioneers and took a few steps forward. Sasha emerged from behind the gates. Hi, Semyon-kun. My name is Slavia Yorshkine. A stunned silence descended upon the set. It seemed like even the grasshoppers suddenly stopped their song and looked up at Sasha with fascination. I have just one question for you. The dreadful, calm voice of Olga Dmitrievna reached just from behind me. Have you even read the script? Sure I did, but it's so boring. It was pointless to cry, swear, go into hysterics. We couldn't find another actress here. We have only 3 weeks in this camp, and you... She sat down in the director's chair and began to fan herself with her Panama hat. Guys, don't you get it that we won't make it in time if we keep strolling around like this? We still have lots of stuff to shoot. Could you get at least a little more serious? It's like I'm the only one who cares. A slick stick certainly won't work with Sasha, so maybe we should try Carrot instead. I'm sorry. I'll try again. You better. I tried hard to imagine the protagonist surveying the unknown environment as millions of theories fly through his head. He's shocked. He doesn't know what to think of it all. And his brain's ready to explode. His consciousness starts to wander, and there you go. A girl, your average pioneer, appears, and she has not the slightest idea what's happening to him. She just greets the protagonist and sends him to the camp leader. I took a few steps forward, and Sasha appeared from behind the gates. You must be new here? I caught sight of the lens of the camera pointed at me from out of the corner of my eye and tried hard to make a really surprised face. If so, you need to go to our camp leader. Oh, so you Wait, so you can do it, if you really want to. Olga Dmitrievna wiped the sweat from her forehead. I'm gonna turn gray before my time with all these fripperies of yours. And we still have to do the editing. She checked her watch. Okay, let's call it a day. I'd hardly call myself a workaholic, but even I felt that it's way too early to stop, given we're already falling badly behind schedule. Don't you think that... I do, but I feel absolutely done. As you wish. I shrugged and headed into the camp. Evening was closing in. Tonight I was dining with Masha, Sasha, and Alyssa. There was a huge bowl full of fried potato slices with mushrooms right in front of me. What is going on? They're both not the same names they had in the story. One of the perks of summer, fresh vegetables from the garden. These are their real names, I guess. So wait, they were just characters? You better show that much effort during filming. Is that what this is? So you seem to prefer instant noodles over this? What are you talking about? Sasha is a great chef, mumbled Alyssa. Didn't anyone ever tell you that it's impolite to talk with your mouth full? And you're always complaining. I'm... Sasha was about to burst into tears. Oh, Lord. Come on, chill out. Everything's delicious. Yeah, Masha, do you want me to make something? Masha gave her such a dirty look that it became obvious even to Sasha that she shouldn't continue. But anyway, just tell me honestly. I won't. But you don't even know what I'm about to ask you. I know. So, what's it going to be? She stared at me with a triumphant look. Why did I come up with such a rubbish script? Ah. Alyssa and Sasha laughed. Darn. Oh, I see that you're both okay with it. What's the matter? It's summer. We're surrounded by nature. There's a beach here. Everything looks great. You might as well visit Turkey. Why did you come here? Alyssa glanced at Masha blankly and started to dig into her plate. So? She pointed her fork at me. Fear not the fork, but the spoon. One blow and your skull is doomed. Now you tell me, is he even normal? Semyon-kun is kawaii. Sasha hugged my arm and nodded vigorously. What's the matter anyway? He just got us a free vacation. Why is she talking a little Japanese too? I don't understand what I'm even doing here. Well, it's not like anyone's holding you here, I said coldly. Oh, if only what I wanted mattered. And you, what are you doing all this time? You just keep nagging others, and yet there's still a lot of time before your appearance according to the script. You must be preparing for the role, eh? I interrupted her. Oh, maybe I am preparing. Double standards. Triple, darn it. So, what are you doing for real? Well, what would you expect me to do? Me? Nothing, just curious. Reading books, she answered timidly. And every book about how to master acting. Stop it, okay? We are sitting out here, God knows where. No internet, no phone signal, nothing at all. If I hadn't brought the mosquito repellent with me. I brought it, yeah. Masha gave her such a look that Sasha suddenly started to take up much less space than usual. I just don't get you. What's the point of complaining all the time? You could have stayed back home. Alyssa is still named Alyssa, but these two are not named their actual names in the story. Miku, Slavia, so they're actually Masha and Sasha. Did I even ask you? Masha got up abruptly and headed for the exit. I guess Alyssa is actually Alyssa though. Masha-nan is upset, said Sasha in a distressed tone. She got upset just now. Then wait until you see what she's going to be like towards the end of the shooting. The Pioneer Chainsaw Massacre with that Drizba, Curiously enough, I really couldn't comprehend why Masha keeps freaking out. Sure, since the very beginning, she'd had no real enthusiasm for either the script or the whole idea of shooting our movie in a godforsaken pioneer camp. But still, she wasn't that aggressive. Maybe it's the heat that's to blame? Or the grasshoppers? Sure, that's it. Grasshoppers. They're giving us hell instead of a good sleep. I wish we just had a button to release some sort of a poisonous gas, and presto. What are you thinking about? About the grasshoppers. What's wrong with them? Might as well ask what's right with them. Grasshoppers, they're not nya. Why? Well, they're so scary. You just don't like insects in general? Nope. Me neither. A heavy silence fell. No matter what's going on in Masha's head, at least she can always keep the conversation going. Even if it's about grasshoppers. Wasn't it, Sasha? I imagine her talking about her hatred towards these hellish creatures who dare not only to plague this already imperfect world, but also keep chirping all night long, this time interrupting her own interest and gentle soul. Olga Dmitrievna approached our table. Ready for the night shooting? Night shooting? It's not like we've even completed the first scenes yet. And you also mentioned that we are done for today. We have to make maximum use of the time, or else we won't make it all. At all. I couldn't say that I was completely dead tired, and besides, I had to show at least a spark of commitment to the success of my own project. Alright, what are we shooting? The night scene with Slavia in the woods. Nani? Sasha heard that we were discussing her character and jumped in. Just please, began Olga Dmitrievna in a strained voice. Stick to the script this time. What kind of... Stop that already. She gritted her teeth, turned around, and left us. What's that scene about? Haven't you read the script at all? Of course I haven't, said Alyssa proudly. I'm more than okay with just reading the scenes where I appear. I wasn't going to trouble her with meaningless talk about the necessity of getting the whole picture to fully understand one's character. I'm watching Slavia dancing by the side of the lake in the woods. Yeah, it's so romantic. And she strips down and processes. Yeah? Sasha stared at me with a look of incomprehension. The meaning of my words dawned on her after several moments. Strips? Relax, not completely. Well, if it's gonna be you... She blushed. Sure seems like this girl has not only been watching too much anime recently, but also is not the smartest one by birth. Just why did Olga Dmitrievna cast the characters like this? As for me, I'd rather cast Masha to play Slavia and Sasha as Miku. Hey, no, she's okay. Anyway, it's up to the director to decide, and Olga Dmitrievna is the only character we have. By any chance, will there be that? What? Sasha gave Alyssa a blank stare. No. What do you mean, nothing at all? Not in this scene. Ah, so you will be doing that later. Alyssa showed off a sharp grin. If it sparks your curiosity so much, you should go and read the script already. Nah, I'm not curious at all. Alyssa got up from the table. Okay, I'll be going. Ahem, what was it all about? What is that? It's nothing. Go get yourself ready, the sun's already setting. Yeah. Sasha got up and dashed to the exit. Does this girl speak Russian and Japanese? I finished my plate of potatoes and gave a heavy sigh. Well, at this rate, we won't manage to shoot even half a movie. I guess we can just put "to be continued" at the end, and turn everything into an epic saga created by the students of a third-rate local cinema and television college. Suddenly, I understood that, really, I don't care anymore. Ready? I turned back and caught a sight of Shurik. It's not like I have anything to prepare. Do you think you can manage these night shootings? Oh, somehow. Let's get going then. It's finally become colder in the evenings. Too cold, I'd say. I was sitting on a stump and trying to keep myself warm in my thin top, while others were aligning cameras and lights. Why should I be doing this stuff anyway? It's not like I even have a part in this scene. Masha was setting up a light reflector cloth between the trees. Who else? We're always short on manpower. Well, you could bring on more people for this. Everyone would have been happy to participate in the production of such a masterpiece. Are you complaining about something? Olga Dmitrievna gave her a menacing look. No, not at all. I'm fine. Our director was probably the only person here that Masha hesitated to argue with. I wonder why. Shurik sat down next to me. What do you think? Any chance we'll get in only 2 or 3 takes? I have no idea. It's not like it depends on me. I nodded towards Sasha. She was jumping up and down energetically by the lakeside, warming up for her role. Oh, I see. Shurik heaved a doomed sigh and headed to his camera. Alright, it's time. I hid myself behind a tree. Camera, action. Yay, this scene. Sasha walked past me, almost dancing. I couldn't help noticing that given all this extra lighting combined with the moonlight, she looked plain stupid. No, she looks great. Stop. You're so mean. But that's the cameraman's concerns anyway. It's probably for the best. This guy's so mean. I slowly emerged from behind the tree and followed her. Sasha went slowly along the shoreline, almost hovering above the ground, taking off her neckerchief and unbuttoning her shirt on the way. She looks great. In fact, it actually looked amazing. I bet she could have been a great actress of the silent cinema. Yeah. Soon enough, Sasha disappeared into the woods. I took a few moments to space out at the shoreline and then started to follow her. Cut! Sasha immediately dashed back from behind the trees. So, how is it? It was awesome! Excellent! Perfect! If you could perform it like this every time, on the first take, then we would have it all finished in time. You're saying we're not gonna make it on time. I noted skeptically. We'll make it, you bet. Ahem, what do you mean, that's all? Masha suddenly appeared next to me as if out of nowhere. You wanted something else? We spent like 3 hours in preparation for only 1 minute of footage. It's cinema, you know. Art. One can be hunting a single shot for years. One could keep shooting a 5-minute movie for decades. Olga Dmitrievna looked particularly funny, waving her arms like that. Sure, mumbled Masha in a wasted voice. That's it? Yeah, that's it for tonight. Then good night, everyone. She threw that piece of reflector cloth to the ground and hastened off towards the camp. I quickly mumbled my goodbyes to everyone, grabbed a script printout, and rushed after her. Hey, it was at the square that I caught up with her. Oh, now what do you want? A look of extreme fatigue was on Masha's face. Maybe you want to take a short walk before you head off to sleep? Why would I? She glanced at me, apparently misunderstanding me. Well, it's still so early. I bet you wouldn't even think of going to sleep at this time in the city. In the city? This isn't the city here, you know? Here 3 days count for one. Oh, come on. It's still early. Oh, fine. She gave me a bright look and smiled. Just not for too long. Ma'am, yes, ma'am. Why do you carry that all the time? She pointed at the stack of paper I held in my hands. Well, you never know what might happen. Shortly thereafter, we arrived at the beach. What a lovely moon. Masha started to strip and dashed off towards the river. I don't know what I was expecting. Was I expecting, but because she had a bikini on under that pioneer uniform of hers. Fascinated, I stared as she paddled her legs in the water, which caused ripples to splash around her. So, you're still able to have fun? I shouted. Oh, neat. She threw me an offended look, came closer, and sat down next to me. Pretty. Yeah, it's like recently you all think that I'm just an old hack. What? Of course you're not. But you're still one moaner. I guess I have my reasons. Not sure. I don't see any particular ones. Oh, she's really pretty. Masha got up and moved several feet away from me. Oh, come on. Don't come on me. It's just one can't be such a what? You never see anything. She put her head down on her knees and added quietly. And you never understand. Yeah, that's me, cold-hearted, dumb, and all. Masha gave a barely audible laugh. Yeah, exactly. Let's go swimming? It's cold in there. It won't take long. Oh, okay. The water was surprisingly warm, so indeed we were hardly going to freeze. I sat down at the towel that somebody left behind and took a deep breath of the soft night air. Ooh. Masha lay in front of me and rested her head on my lap. Am I disturbing you? Not at all. I just felt kind of tired. She looked straight into my eyes, but I averted my gaze. Why can't it all be the same as before? How so? Come on. That was a joint decision, you know. But nevertheless... She put her arms around my waist, and I felt even more ill at ease. Why have we come here in the first place? To shoot a movie. I tried to put it off with a jest. Still, if it wasn't for you, I would have never gone to this college in the first place. We could have already... She sighed. But now... I still think that digging up the past in this context is hardly a good idea. You might think so. As for me, I still think that we shouldn't have. But you were the one who wanted it in the first place. I never wanted it, said Masha resentfully. Oh yeah, so it was me who insisted? Yes, it was you. She turned away but didn't get off of me. You're always like that. You don't like this, you don't like that. Why can't you just adopt a similar approach to life? Simpler approach to life. Take a look around. It's a splendid summer. It's a beautiful night. We're shooting a remarkable movie. In fact, everything's great. Do you really believe all that yourself? Her question was indeed one worth asking. I do, kind of. It's not like everything's always ideal. But what's so bad about it? Everything is bad. She seemed ready to burst into tears. This stupid camp, that script of yours. Everything is bad. And you are not a child anymore. You could have already started a family, gotten a job. Hey, we discussed it all like 1,000 times. Yeah, and broke up exactly because of that. That was your call, mind. Precisely because of your everything is bad attitude. Oh, but you go like everything's great to make up for that. Only fools rejoice about everything around them. I'm not rejoicing, or rather, I'm rejoicing about things that are worth rejoicing about. I like my work. I find pleasure in films. Do I really? So that means you didn't find pleasure in me? She got up and leaned against my chest. Maybe we shouldn't. What's the matter? Don't you want to? I couldn't make up my mind on how I should reply. On one hand, I didn't want to open old wounds, but on the other hand, I clearly understood that I'm not in a position to refuse. And by now, I didn't care if someone who might not be sleeping might see us. But why? What comes after? Who cares? Well, in that case... The gleaming moonlight reflecting in the water droplets on her bare skin, the sticky sand, the chill of the summer night, and the heat of her body, heavy breathing and gasps of pleasure. Everything passed in one brief moment. Oh, guess it's time to sleep. It's gonna be a rough day tomorrow. Olga Dmitrievna will definitely push us hard. I was slowly buttoning my shirt as I watched Masha dressing. I don't want to sleep alone, she murmured quietly. What, afraid of the grasshoppers? It's not the grasshoppers, it's the crickets, and I'm not afraid of them. She averted her gaze and blushed a little. It's just, well, unusual. You might have got used to it, given the amount of time. I suddenly thought that there's nothing wrong with this idea, especially given everything that happened. Okay, but where? Masha gave me a questioning look. There are a couple of unoccupied cabins reserved for further scenes. Well, we could use these props for a while, I guess. Let's go. She smiled, got up, took my arm, and we slowly headed to the square. Oh. An irresistibly blinding morning glare struck my eyes. I wasn't able to stretch. Masha was sleeping on my left arm. Oh, it looks like they have some dating history or something going on. That was a weird conversation. I barely managed to pull my limb from under her head and massaged it for a long time, trying to restore the blood flow. Scratching my stubble, I reached for my shorts to find my cigarettes. Perhaps we shouldn't have gone that far yesterday after all. Now she definitely won't leave me alone. Well, probably not. That's not in her nature. But a bad aftertaste will still remain. And now she has an argument to scold me with if I just give her one chance to. Yet another argument. It's not like she's short on them. Unable to find the cigarettes in my shorts, I thought that I must have left them behind in my cabin, so I clumsily dressed and went outside. Oh lord, let it rain at last. It's impossible to work in such an oven. And it's like this day and night, night and day. Rubbing my eyes, I plodded down the trail and didn't notice somebody coming until they ran right into me. It was Router. Router! Hi, Semyon. Hi there. I shouted after. What the? Finally, I came to the cabin, opened the door, and entered. Olga Dmitrievna was inside. She drove me with her gaze. Would you care to explain? What's the matter? Where did you spend the whole night? She looked more than menacing. I was with Masha, and what's the problem? After all, everyone got it already, so it makes absolutely no sense to hide it. With who? With who? Olga Dmitrievna gave me a surprised glance. With Masha. I repeated calmly. We don't have any Mashas here. Now it's my turn to be surprised. Semyon, your behavior is unbecoming of a true pioneer. Are we shooting it already? But where are the cameras? I grinned. Semyon! Oh, come on. I headed to my bed and opened the drawer. However, my backpack wasn't there. Have you seen my backpack? A backpack? She looked at me in surprise. Yeah, it was here. But you arrived here without any luggage. What? I broke into a silly smile. And I still haven't finished yet. Olga Dmitrievna, I get it that you're the finest in the moods this morning, and you have no eagerness to joke around, but how can I feel fine when a pioneer, a future Komsomol member, is acting like that? A pioneer, a Komsomol member, something is definitely going wrong. Olga Dmitrievna, have you slept well? Are you okay? How dare you speak to me like that? What's your problem? To sum it up, you need to be at the lineup in half an hour. As for me, I still need to find Miku. Miku? It looks like they just want to play a prank on us. Ma'am, yes ma'am. I saluted and marched out of the cabin. I have to go and tell Masha, share some laughter with her. What is going on? I vigorously pushed the cabin's door open and ran in. Masha, you won't believe what they've... Masha was sitting on the corner of a bed with an absolutely pale face, wrapping her arms around her legs. What happened? I moved to her side. Lena just came in. Lena? But she wasn't planning to come for another 3 days. It wasn't our Lena. It was just something that looked like her. Masha was trembling and an expression of horror was on her face. Calm down, let's take it slowly. She was talking about some kind of a lineup, cleaning up the grounds, about the library, about the music club. Her breathing became rapid. And it wasn't a joke, I'm sure of it. I recalled the recent conversation with Olga Dmitrievna at once. Okay, calm down, I still haven't got a thing. It wasn't our Lena, it was the Lena from your script. She raised her tear-filled eyes to me. I understood right away that this wasn't a joke, and my courage vanished. That's ridiculous. It just can't be. Though recalling the conversation with the director. No, I'm sure. She threw herself into my arms. I tried to calm her down. We have to think logically. We have to think logically. It's just them trying to pull a prank on us. That's all. I was just talking to Olga Dmitrievna, and she's what? Also looked unusual to me. I can't just say that to Masha. In the end, they will have their laugh and then quit it. No, something has happened. Something horrible. I'm sure of it. Masha was sobbing in my arms. Okay, let's get down to it. Let's talk to someone. For example, to Router. Router, he surely isn't the main stand-up comedian neighborhood. Is that his real name? To tell the truth, at this point I was interested in myself and finding out what kind of joke this was, one that can bring Masha, who is always calm and prepared for everything, to hysterics. Okay. She wiped away her tears and got up from the bed. Calm down now? I'm trying. Masha smiled faintly. Let's go. We left the cabin. Where to? Olga Dmitrievna was talking about some kind of a lineup. Let's go to the square. Most likely they will be there. Masha took my hand but let it go right away. I chose not to look in her direction because I already knew what expression she had on her face and just headed to the square. The lineup, if that is the right term for people flocking around the monument, was quite crowded. I didn't recognize even a half of people gathered there, and that fact was extremely strange on its own. Olga Dmitrievna tried to line them all up. I chose not to linger and went up to her. Olga Dmitrievna, you know... Oh, and Miku's here too. She interrupted me. Excellent, we'll talk after the lineup. What lineup are you talking about? Isn't that enough playing games? For God's sake, it's not funny anymore. She looked at me in confusion. What are you talking about? About that. Masha cautiously looked out from behind my back. Olga Dmitrievna, it really isn't funny anymore. I don't understand you two. Let's seriously get back to the shooting. What shooting? I looked at her attentively and for the first time realized that perhaps she wasn't joking. Olga Dmitrievna was never a decent actress, so I doubt that this expression of surprise and incomprehension was fake. What a mess. Okay, let's assume... Tell us your version. Version of what? She was still blinking her eyes while looking at my mouth. I got it. I grabbed Masha by her arm and headed away from the square. Hey, hold on, where are you going? We have to find someone less insane. Olga Dmitrievna's shouts followed us, but I didn't pay attention. Any attention? Soon enough, we reached the clubhouse. According to the script, it ought to be right here. Let's go. Masha didn't reply, just followed my lead. I opened the door abruptly and walked in. Router was there, as I had expected. What's happening? Oh, Semyon, and you're not alone. Hi there. Have you come here to join our club? It seemed that there was something wrong with him, too. Why aren't you at the lineup? I asked mischievously. Well, I've got something to finish here. Whatever. Just tell us what's going on here. Am I missing something? Just like Olga Dmitrievna, he stared at me with no sign of understanding. Why the heck is everyone around acting like we're real pioneers in a real pioneer camp? Isn't that the case? Is it? Well, actually... And what about the film? What film? The film. The one we're filming. Semyon, I really don't understand what you're talking about. It's only now that I realize that everyone around is calling me Semyon. Well, Sasha was always calling me Semyon-kun too. But that was clearly a joke, while here. It's not a big thing, but my name is definitely not Semyon. I stepped back in horror and tripped over Masha. She let out a short scream. And you, Miku. I wasn't listening. I snatched Masha's hand and ran out. I managed to halt only at the bus stop. As I turned around, I saw Masha gasping for breath. I let go of her hand and sat down on the edge of the road. Looks like the two of us are in trouble. Don't you get it? Everyone here behaves exactly the same as it was written in my script. She stared blankly at me for some time, and then she recovered. Yeah, a fair guess. But what? Why? Like I would know. So, what are we gonna do? I don't know. Masha was on the edge of bursting into tears. Oh, stop it. I really have no idea. How can I come up with ready-made solutions in this situation? Wait. Oh, stop it. I really have no idea. How can I come up with ready-made solutions in this situation? I understand, but... After all, there's still a possibility of it all being a silly joke. Well, an overdone one. But what if... Well, if... Then we'll act in accordance with the circumstances. I sighed and quickly stood up. Let's go eat something at least. I think that whatever is happening here, food will still be served. Masha gave a barely noticeable smile and followed me. The canteen was jam-packed. Even at the lineup, I noticed that there were many more people than there were yesterday. Did all these children really come here, to an abandoned camp? No, there's something really wrong about that. However, food was being distributed, so me and Masha took trays and sat down separately from the others. I ate intently, trying not to raise my head up from the plate and not to look up at the surrounding people. However, it didn't help me much. In a couple of minutes, someone showed up near our table. I barely managed to raise my eyes and saw Lena. Can I? She asked quietly. Yeah, suit yourself. While I was thinking as to how I should answer, Masha pulled out a chair beside her and invited Lena to sit down with a gesture. You weren't yourself this morning, she began anxiously. Well, got up on the wrong side of the bed. Masha laughed nervously. Lena glanced at me and then quickly looked away. So, how's it going? I started with more general questions. What? So, how's it going? I started with more general questions. Fine. I see. I genuinely had no idea what can we discuss with her. Plus, Lena indeed looked pretty odd. While she was usually all fun and high spirits, now she looked extremely timid and shy. This is so wordy. Did you hear anything about Slavia? What happened? Well, nobody has seen her since yesterday. It's like you two disappeared first. Now you are here, but Slavia is. She left long pauses after each of her sentences. I still didn't get it. Either it's completely perfect acting, or the being sitting in front of us wasn't our Lena. Nope, we haven't seen her. Well, I hope she will be back eventually. Yeah, we hope so too. Slavia. Sasha indeed could lose her way in broad daylight. That's hardly surprising. I was just finishing eating the rubber-like oatmeal when suddenly Olga Dmitrievna ran into the canteen, waving her hands. She looked around emotionlessly, and after a glance at me, she finally headed towards our table at a fast walk. Oh, here you are. Let's go have a talk. She hissed below her breath, right at my face. Seems that objecting wasn't worth it, so I got up, nodded to Masha, and we headed after Olga Dmitrievna. After we got outside, she turned around abruptly and said, So, where were you last night? Should you care? I shrugged. I should. Did you know that Slavia is missing? Just heard that from Lena. Exactly. I went searching for her and found her. It looked like she was desperately fighting back tears. That's good news then. Come, let me show you. She said quietly and headed in the direction of the forest. I looked at Masha. Maybe we shouldn't? What's wrong with it? However, my inner voice was agreeing with her. Alright then, but I'm afraid. Everything will be fine. I tried smiling, but even without a mirror, it was obvious that my smile was so fake that it made me sick. Soon enough, we came to a small glade. There. Olga Dmitrievna pointed at a tree. Oh, I took a few steps and suddenly spotted a detached human arm. In fact, it wasn't even detached, more like it had been torn off. Masha peered out from behind my shoulder and screamed in terror straight away. Don't look! She burst into tears and rushed into Olga Dmitrievna's arms. I made a considerable effort. I had to look behind the tree to ensure that it was indeed Slavia. Body parts were lying there. An arm, a leg, ruptured in several places, a piece of flesh from the chest, a head with hair clotted with blood, and deeply sunken glassy eyes. It felt like vomiting. I felt like vomiting and instinctively averted my gaze. Ugh! Who did this? How would I know? Said Olga Dmitrievna in a surprisingly stone-cold voice. Throughout the camp, you're the only ones without an alibi. Masha continued to cry, now on my shoulder. What, you seriously think that we were able to do this? I gazed at her in fury. Now it didn't matter that much was happening here. Silly jokes or something more serious. A person had been murdered. A person who we knew. Slavia or Sasha, it makes no difference. Well, no. She hesitated. But someone did it after all. I would say some wild animals, probably wolves. There were never any wolves around. So you think a human could have done it? Well, there is no one else to blame. No, that makes no sense at all. It just can't. I hugged Masha tighter. Her sobbing became quieter. Anyway, we have to call the police. Of course we have to. Let's go. The district center is pretty far from the camp. The police won't get here anytime soon. Night was falling. I was sitting at the square and watching the sunset. Masha was sleeping in Olga Dmitrievna's cabin. It all shocked her much more than us, for many reasons. There were two main questions in my mind. First, what is happening here? And second, who murdered Slavia? Or Sasha. Anyway, who's the murderer? The first one could be postponed for the time being, but I still had no clue how to deal with the second one. Despite all the confusion, the conclusion of her being savaged by wild beasts seemed to be the most reasonable explanation. I don't care if there are any wolves here or not. It could even be a bear or a badger, but certainly not a human. No one would be able to do something like that without additional tools, and the type of wounds made it clear that the unfortunate victim had been dismembered with bare hands or paws, though it's true enough that an enraged human can gain nearly superhuman strength. But of all the people gathered here, who would be able to do something like that? Router? Lena? Maybe Olga Dmitrievna herself? No, that's stupid. But even so, there were many children apart from them in the canteen and at the square. But am I really going to interrogate every single one of them? That's a job for the police. Then what's there to be afraid of? Maybe I'm not afraid for myself, but for Masha. Right, I need to check how she's doing. I was just about to get up when suddenly I sensed someone's presence. I looked back and saw Lena. Oh, I didn't want to scare you. It's okay. Can I sit here? Yes, sit down, please. She fixed her skirt with a neat move, sat down, and started staring at the sunset. How sad this all is. Yeah, not much to rejoice about. What do you think? Who could have done that? How should I know? Certainly not me. No, it's not like I suspect you or anything. She began waving her hands in a funny manner. Well, thanks for that. I smirked sadly. But that must have been done by a very cruel, very evil person. Well, not necessarily. Lena glanced at me in confusion. Maybe it was a one-off delusion. After all, in everyday life, maniacs can be the nicest of people. So you're saying that? Her eyes widened and her jaw dropped a little. That it could have been done by any one of us? Well, I'm not asserting that, that's for sure, but the circle of suspects is quite large. No, none of the children could do that. No one. Anyway, it's up to the police to deal with it. We spent some more time sitting in silence. I was about to leave when Lena suddenly whispered, Or could you... What? An unnatural grin appeared on her face. A devil's grin, so I thought. Could you have murdered Slavia? Of course not, but you two didn't get along very well. Why do you think so? We were getting along just fine. It suddenly became clear that Lena most likely is not talking about me. More precisely, not the me from yesterday. And not the Slavia whose name is Sasha. I was sure about that. No, it wasn't me. Okay, relax. I am not accusing you, she says as her face looks really scary. She gave me a look, and for a second her eyes seemed red to me. Maybe it was just a reflection of the sunset. I'm glad you got everything right. But it was you who said that everyone is worth suspecting. I didn't tell you to suspect everyone. I meant that we don't know who the criminal is, yet. Oh, I see. Well, I hope I don't become the next victim, Lena said loudly and burst out laughing. The way she did it gave me the creeps. Okay, it's time to go. She got up and swiftly left the square. I chose not to linger and headed to Olga Dmitrievna's cabin. It was now completely dark. Masha was still sleeping, so I decided not to wake her and quietly climbed in next to her. Our director, or the camp leader, as the local residents kept referring to her, was still nowhere to be seen. If she enters now, it will all get very uncomfortable. Well, it might, at the very least. Anyway, who cares? A person has been murdered. It's not the time for such trifles. And yet, anyway, we still have to find out what's going on. Why does everyone keep acting like they're pioneers? It seems to me that until it becomes clear who the real criminal is, this whole ridiculous carnival won't stop. The real question was, what is the cause, and what is the effect? Either everyone keeps pretending because Slavia was murdered, I still couldn't accept that Sasha was the victim, so I've kept telling myself that it was indeed Slavia, or Slavia was killed because everyone keeps pretending. Man, I got lost entirely, and such brainstorming is not going to get me anywhere. The door creaked faintly. Cautiously, I rose on my elbows a bit and peered into the darkness. A few torturous moments passed, but ultimately no one came in. Well, I guess it's no use to just lie down and wait. Right now it's probably just the wind blowing or something like that, but this late at night, when everyone is asleep. I stood up, grabbed my trousers in the dark, and looked around. It was hardly probable that I might find something that could be used as a means of self-defense here, but I at least had to give it a try. Rummaging through the cabin's contents, I stumbled upon a locked drawer inside the cabinet. Sure, I'd love to find a gun or at least some kind of heavy crowbar there, but however, I totally understood that I really shouldn't hold my breath for one. But it had to be locked for a reason. I pushed the cabinet from the wall, estimated where exactly on the back side that drawer was, and gave it a sharp and precise, so I would not wake Masha up, kick with my leg. The plywood cracked and something spilled forth from the drawer. Underwear, more underwear, matches. Oh, they might just come in handy. I shoved the matchbox into my pocket, and at the same moment I heard some strange noises from outside the door, as if some wild animal was scratching on it. Surely if that is the real criminal, I won't stand a chance against him. But one shouldn't shrug off the possibility that it was the work of a local pioneer, who may have gone crazy, or who was just insane from the start. Anyway, I should still be able to knock out any of the local residents, even if he came at me with a knife. Thinking about a weapon gave me the creeps. No, I shouldn't be so overconfident. If I get into an encounter with someone who is, for example, armed with a knife, then I must shut the door, barricade all entrances, and wait for help. He probably couldn't get a hold of a firearm here. Although... The door creaked once more and opened up about an inch. I closed my eyes for a second and violently pulled it open, gathering all my strength. I heard a choked scream and saw Alyssa spread-eagled on the doorstep. Oh, it's just you. I heaved a sigh of relief. Don't scare people like that. Want me to give me a heart attack? Want to give me a heart attack? She got up, dusted her clothes off slowly, and glanced at me guiltily. I'm sorry. It's fine. It's just it could be dangerous to walk alone around the camp during the night with all the stuff that's happening. I stopped short. Happening implies an ongoing process, as if something was still going to happen. I mean, happened. That's why I came. Alyssa was looking at the ground and trembling slightly. It's already late, but Ileana is still nowhere to be seen. She raised her eyes to me, and I saw tears running down her cheeks. Where could she have gone? It wasn't like I was really concerned, but I asked because I felt that I had to calm the situation. It was perfectly clear that there's absolutely nothing to do in this camp at night. If there's electricity available, then everyone watches movies on their laptops. If not then, they just read books by candlelight. Water under the moon shouldn't be on that list. I don't know. Okay, let's think through it without any fuss. I walked over to the table and picked up the clock. It's midnight. Sure, everyone should be already at their cabins by this time. A scary thought suddenly flashed through my mind. Where's Olga Dmitrievna? Let's go outside and talk there. Don't want us to wake up Miku. As we went out, I took a place by the stairs and started to think. Alyssa stood beside me, wringing her hands with a pained look on her face as she watched the full moon rise. We have to call the police. We've already called them. But back then it was only Slavia, and now it's also Ileana. And Olga Dmitrievna, have you seen her? No, but is she too? Alyssa burst into tears. We still don't know anything, but nevertheless it's clear that something's going on here. Even if they're not just pretending to be pioneers and something really has happened to the world. Right now, I could have quite a good chance of departing from it without getting any answers to my questions. So I have to focus on survival. Survival. The word hit me like a sharp pain into the back of the head. Survival. Just yesterday, I didn't need to give the slightest consideration to anything like that. The quiet summer night was raining over everything around us. Not a breath of wind, not a rustle of grass or a whisper of moving leaves could be heard. Nothing. Just the reflection of the moonlight in the cabin's windows, sparse clouds up in the sky, and yet impenetrable darkness all around. They say that when you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you. And the grasshoppers. Those critters are pulling a double shift at Jing, as if they're constantly on duty. As the day shift winds up, the night shift, who got enough sleep, begins. Then the night winds knock off, and I have to find some insecticide after all. At least I can whip out a couple of divisions. With any luck, that would get me some quiet living space around this cabin. Sure, I can't destroy them all. What the heck, there are probably more of them than there are humans in the entire world. Can you hear it? Alyssa sat down and huddled up against me. Her entire body was trembling. What? I strained my ears. It seemed that somebody was slowly walking down the path to our cabin. I couldn't make anything out in the dark, but the steps grew more and more audible with every second. Okay, don't sweat it. He won't dare to attack the two of us. Although I wasn't really sure about that. My hands instinctively started to search for something I could use to defend myself. Hey, sorry. Soon enough I found a piece of water pipe underneath the bench. It's not much help, of course. It's way too thick and uncomfortable to wield properly, but it's still better than going out empty-handed. The mere sight of this monstrosity would make anyone pee themselves, most likely from laughter. There's nothing I can do. We're as good as sitting ducks here, so I'd rather move out towards the enemy. I couldn't say that I was bursting with courage and valor. In fact, it was quite the opposite. I was really freaking out. It just seemed that I had no other choice. I took a deep breath and slowly headed into the darkness. Soon enough, I could make out more features of the stranger's silhouette. Not very tall, weird hairstyle, skirt. That ought to be Lena. I lowered my guard. What are you doing here this late at night? Lena's face was stained with tears. Come on. I led her to Alyssa. As Lena was coming back to her senses, she tried to explain what happened. I was just sitting alone, and it's already quite late, but Miku's still missing. And what happened to Slavia, and I still just couldn't reconcile this image of Lena, a sobbing girl sitting in front of me, with the one that I saw at the square a few hours ago, with the grin of the devil and hellish flames in her eyes. Maybe it was just my imagination, or maybe not. By any chance, do you know where Ileana and Olga Dmitrievna are? She raised her surprised eyes to me. No, why? Are they also missing? Well, so far we can't be sure. Semyon. At first I didn't realize that she was addressing me. Huh? Don't you think that it's way too quiet in the camp? It's night. Everyone's sleeping, aren't they? I strained my ears. Indeed, there were no sounds besides these different grasshoppers. I mean, no sounds whatsoever. What is this place usually like? Quiet, whispered Lena. Quiet, but not this quiet. I couldn't let girls fall into panic, although I was starting to freak out myself. Yet there were a lot of reasons to. Humans disappearing into thin air, horrible murders, friends that pretend to be the pioneers until the very end. I was ready to lose it. Okay, let's think rationally. The girls gave me a few questioning looks. People can't just disappear without a trace. That means... Nope, it doesn't mean anything. Suddenly we heard a rustle in the bushes behind the cabin. Before I could even grab my pipe, Crowder emerged from the darkness. Ah, here you are. He didn't seem to be all that concerned by all the stuff happening around. Oh Lord, stop jumping out at people like that. The girls are gonna have a heart attack at this rate. Although I wasn't sure who was more frightened, them or me. Yeah, I apologize. Why have you come? Have you seen Shirk? We haven't. It looks like half of the camp just disappeared in the last few hours. Plus, it's too quiet around here. We noticed that already. There's no light anywhere. Dead silence. Oh, don't you start whipping up the tension here. I feel sick already. What am I doing? I'm not doing anything. He flashed a mysterious smile that gave me the creeps. Okay, you stay here, and I'm gonna scout around the camp. Alone? Yeah, that probably wasn't exactly the brightest idea. I have to think first and speak. I'll go with you. Okay, then you just stay here, and don't forget that Miku is still sleeping in the cabin. Sir, yes, sir. What a dork if you gave me that dopey smile in any other situation. Oh no, murders. About half an hour later, our search brought us to the square. All the cabins were empty. It looks like there were only the 5 of us left in the camp. I limped along with that pipe of mine. It appeared to be so lightweight at first, but after carrying it for some time, I've learned that one can get worn out even carrying a bag of feathers. Where on earth is everyone? Alyssa appeared to be more or less calm. The horror of the first minutes when we were going from one empty cabin to another had already passed. Well, at least we can be sure that it's not the same case as whatever happened to Slavia. Why is that? Just think, where are the bodies? I said in a whisper, fearful of scaring her. But where is everyone then? Disappeared? Hardly a credible explanation. But if you think about it, nothing whatsoever that's happened during the last 24 hours has been credible. They couldn't just go and just like that. It's not like anything's up to us now, and in any case, tomorrow is still another day. I tried to put on a smile. Let's rejoin the others. Yeah, agreed Alyssa with a hint of indecisiveness. We'd only taken a few steps when a rustle in the bushes came from behind. I instantly turned around and peered towards the source of sound. Alyssa clung to my hand so hard it hurt, and I tightened my grip on the pipe. Who's there? No idea. I strained my eyes but still couldn't make out anything in the darkness. Hey! I had no idea what to do next. The rustling suddenly cut off, and the night returned to just the usual cricket fiddling. Could it be some wild animal? I wondered with a feeling of insecurity. Wild animal? She gripped my hand even tighter. But there are no wild animals around here. A squirrel, for example, I don't know. A squirrel? Yeah, a squirrel. Well, maybe. Shall we go? Yeah. A minute later, we were approaching Olga Dmitrievna's cabin. Router and Lena remained silent and just shuddered slightly when they saw us. So, how is it? No one out there. What do you mean, no one? Everyone's gone, said Alyssa through her tears. The girls rushed into each other's arms, and I sat down next to Router, finally dropping that abhorrent pipe of mine to the ground. It's just that simple? Just that simple. But how? I really don't know. Maybe it's an alien abduction? What nonsense. Want to play Detective Sherlock? Well, it could be the same maniac. It's kind of way too much for just one man, don't you think so? I guess you're right, but what is it then? It still could turn out to be just a stupid prank. And Slavia too? It's all just a stupid prank? No, she was definitely murdered by someone. But who? He gave me a narrow gaze. I have no idea. Maybe it was you. I was starting to get wound up. Or you. Not me for sure. How can you prove it? Why on earth should I have to explain myself to you? You're the only one without an alibi. Ah, so you do have an alibi, yeah? I was in my cabin at night. Shirk can prove it. Sure, but Shirk's temporarily unavailable. Router gritted his teeth and turned away. Anyway, I'm the one with an alibi here. I'm not going to justify myself here. I'm sure about myself. It's great to believe in yourself. I'm also sure about myself, and Miku can prove me right. I was with her all the time. Not exactly the best witness. Just as good as yours. I have no idea how long we could have argued like that if Lena hadn't interviewed been in the conversation. Boys, come on, that's enough. You're right, sorry. Yeah, indeed, now's not the best time for something like this. Anyway, we should stick together. Would it help to keep us from disappearing? Asked Alyssa timidly. I'm not sure about all that disappearance stuff, but at least it should help us to stay alive. I glanced at my watch. It's almost 4 o'clock. The sun will be rising soon. Okay, squad, time to hit the hay, or we're gonna end up totally wiped out. But, no buts. Nobody else tried to object, and we entered the cabin quietly. What's happening? Seems like we woke Masha up. It's okay, keep sleeping. But she was already sitting up on the bed and staring blankly at her little party. Well, you see, they're all gone, disappeared, everyone's gone. Lena burst into tears and flung her arms around Masha's neck. What's going on? Can you speak clearly? Well, long story short, I cracked my neck in a compulsive reach for the cigarettes in my pocket. Finding none, I heaved a sigh of frustration and said, It looks like there's just 5 of us left in this camp. Meaning everyone in this room. Rejoice, Captain Obvious has returned. You're gonna keep watch first. Eh. Oh, nothing. Do you really think that it's safe for everyone to sleep at the same time? Well, it isn't, but... Exactly. I handed him the pipe and slowly approached the bed where Lena was still sobbing in Masha's arms. Well, if you don't mind. I slipped my boots off, climbed over the girls, and turned towards the wall. But how? Anyhow, sleep. I was so exhausted, both physically and, more importantly, emotionally, that I was unable to do anything, think anything, communicate with anybody. I was desperate to get some sleep. Way too desperate. Masha's whispers, Lena's sobs, Alyssa's voice, all that has somehow melted in one quiet lullaby, and so I fell asleep. I was forcibly awakened by someone doing their best to shake me. Physically shake me, that is. Router was leaning over me and nudging my shoulder. What? It's your turn now. How long have I slept? About an hour. Only an hour? Stay on your watch. I'm already dozing off. Yeah, an infinite power source wouldn't hurt for our router. Although it wouldn't hurt for me too. Oh, fine. I rose with considerable effort, climbed over Lena and Masha, who slept with their arms around each other, and jumped down to the floor. The room seemed slightly brighter. The morning's coming. Yeah. Router tried to get to my place, but I grabbed him by the collar, threw him down on the floor, and gave him a blanket and a pillow. So you can. And you cannot. Come to think about it, why can't he? Anyway, it's not that important now. I took the chair, dragged it to the door, sat down, and started to wait. Anticipation seemed to be the best word to describe what I was feeling. Any moment now the door will burst open and a maniac will break into the room, or the last residents of this camp will disappear. Or I would disappear. In any case, something will happen. I deeply felt that. Router was snoring his head off, the girls were sleeping securely, and I was starting to doze off too. I clenched the pipe harder. The feeling of cold metal against my bare skin somehow brought me back to my senses. I must not sleep. I'm their only hope now. And my own too. But it's so hard to resist. Just a couple of minutes. My eyes seemed to have a life of their opening and closing spontaneously as my mind wandered. A rustling came from behind the door. No, I must have imagined that. It's just those darn grasshoppers. What are they still up to? Maybe it's the grasshoppers to blame. They fell upon the camp like a swarm of locusts and devoured everybody. A vision of me being devoured by grasshoppers unfolded in my mind. A disgusting storm was brewing in my head. Their long legs, their wings, a huge head, and the eyes, filled with darkness, eyes reflecting the abyss. Just look a grasshopper in the eye, and you'll never be the same again. That's how it happens. I'm running away, and they are after me. There are thousands of them. Millions. I'm desperately jumping over the pits and gullies, climbing hills and rocks. They don't care. They've got wings. Yeah, these filthy wings that make that nasty rattle. Probably they wouldn't need their teeth anyway. They just have to flap these horrible wings faster and faster, summoning the sonic wave of the apocalypse. No. I just can't block out this hellish noise anymore. I'm falling, desperately trying to cover my ears with my hands. Please stop it. Somebody. He does not like grasshoppers. I was woken by a sharp pain in the back of my head. Opening my eyes, I realized I was lying sprawled on the floor. It looks like that I fell asleep and slipped off my chair. It was 9 o'clock. Oh, it looks like I was sleeping for 5 hours straight. Anything could have happened. Horrified, I patted myself down and everything seemed to be in its place. Oh, that was close. I shook our squad awake. My turn already? You sleep too much while I've been sitting here all night long. Sure, that was a lie, but telling them I spent the night running for my life from the grasshoppers definitely wasn't an option. I'm sorry. Ryder hung his head. Don't worry about it. Oh, I'm hungry. Masha stretched out and gave me a cute smile. And why are you all here? Don't you remember anything? Nope, what's the matter? Everyone's gone. Okay, everyone's still alive. Okay, awesome, said Alyssa gloomily. Say what? Everyone's gone, vanished into thin air. Masha glanced out of the window and said nothing. Seems like she remembered now. Well, getting something to eat is indeed a fine idea. Getting something to eat is indeed a fine idea. Nobody was going to object. It's not like I was in the mood to eat, same as everyone else. But ultimately, everyone knew that we had to keep ourselves running. Soon enough, we were sitting in the canteen, quietly digging into whatever we could find. Want me to cook something? Inquired Masha quietly. Let's wait for lunch. For now, it's fine. She gave me a disappointed look. Okay, so what are we gonna do? We have to get out of here. But the police... we have to get out of here. I repeated stubbornly. But how? Bus. It's highly unlikely that one will come. It doesn't run too often. At least there should be a timetable somewhere around here. I tried to remember if I've ever seen the bus map or its timetable somewhere. Probably not. Then we'll go on foot. Anything's better than staying here. But it's a long way too. Well, we might hitch a lift. Here in the middle of nowhere, I doubt that. Oh, stop with that drama. Although thinking about it is exactly the right time for drama. I'm not being dramatic, but that's it. End of story. What are we gonna say when we reach the city? We'll tell them the truth. We came to shoot a movie, and then... What movie? Okay, stop fooling around, will you? I buried my face in my hands, feeling run down. Even if it was kind of funny yesterday, although it really wasn't. You can stop it now. I don't get you. Oh, you're still going to keep on pretending that you came here not to shoot a movie, but to roleplay as a pioneer? I don't understand a thing. Alyssa swept her surprised gaze across everyone. But we are pioneers. What pioneers, for God's sake? Masha, who has kept silent so far, butted in. It's the 21st century out there. Yeah, right, pioneers. 21st? First? It looks like we're headed in a deep mess. Yeah. So, you're all going to say that you are, well, we are normal pioneers who just came here on vacation for a week or so? A heavy silence followed. Well, yes. I cast a look at Masha. It looks like she doesn't know how to react either. I signaled to her, pointing pointing at the door. Excuse us for a second. Jeez. Having gone outside, I asked, what do you think? Well, she adopted the pose of the ancient Greek thinker. It looks like they genuinely believe that, and some folks named Semyon and Miku were in our shoes until yesterday. Well, I guess you're more familiar with them than I am. Oh, come on. I interrupted her. Couldn't you come up with a more feasible theory? I still have absolutely no theories at all. I no longer know what to think. Me neither. But anyway, all hell is breaking loose, and here, even without taking pioneers into account, murders, dozens of people disappearing without a trace, that ought to be our top priority now. I look closely at Masha. I wonder how can she keep such a cool head under these circumstances. Sure, I'm also trying to keep calm, but... That means... What? Let's leave this issue for later. But at least a wild guess? I guess it's somehow connected to the disappearances. It's safe to assume that one, or even two or three, humans couldn't deal with so many people at once. Agreed. It might be that this phenomenon somehow affected them. Might be. Anyway, it's easier to believe in that than, for example, that we're in a parallel reality or something. You know, by now I'm willing to believe in anything. Wait. You know, by now I'm willing to believe in anything. Then let's stick to this theory for now. Okay. Let's go. You go ahead, I'll be back in a minute. It's dangerous to be all alone. Seriously, what's so dangerous? Broad daylight and everyone's around here. Okay. She gave me a faint smile and headed back to the canteen. But still, her behavior is also quite odd. It looks like the last few days changed everything and everyone, including Masha. Yesterday, shock, fear, and trembling. Today, cold and sensible reasoning. She's even more self-assured than me. Could it just be a good sleep? No, there's something wrong with her too. Sure, she doesn't think that she's a pioneer like everyone else does, but still, if something has happened to them, then maybe it also happened to me. No, it can't be. Everything seems to be fine. I double-checked my body and found no abnormalities. Okay, I have to keep calm and control myself. I got up and was about to return to the canteen when suddenly I heard a tiny voice from beyond my back, as if somebody was calling for me. I got down from the porch and took a few steps towards the voice. Somebody was peering at me from behind a tree. Oh no, it was Oleana. No, not Oleana, but something that looked like her. I froze in my tracks. Half of her face was torn and hanging down in shreds. Her grinning jaw trembled nervously as if in laughter. A bloodshot eye, hanging half out of its socket, suddenly swiveled his pupil to look at me. Ugh, I stopped breathing. I felt like I was going to die right now due to the shock. Semyon! The thing that seemed to be Oleana was calling for me. My legs began to give out. I tried hard not to collapse, tried to scream, tried to run away. But my consciousness had already left the body that now was just a ragdoll moving by the will of an invisible puppet master. One more second in. Hey! I instinctively turned towards the word, caught sight of Masha standing on the porch, and then instantly looked back to Oleana. But she was gone. Masha seemed to notice that deathly power upon my face and jumped over to me in the blink of an eye. What? What happened? I just saw Oleana there. I pointed my finger towards the tree. Sure, the sight of the butchered Slavia was indeed gruesome. At least she was dead and not walking around in broad daylight with her face torn apart, and she wasn't calling me by name, even if the name wasn't my own. The last ounces of my strength deserted me and I collapsed to my knees. What? Where? Masha was shaking me by the shoulders. It wasn't her. That was, I don't know. Get a hold of yourself. I felt her round arm slap hit me in the face and gave Masha a questioning look. My cheek burned, but I slowly started to regain my composure. Oleana was there with her face. Basically, it was a zombie. Yeah, a zombie Oleana. That's the most rational explanation I can give. Masha looked at me dumbfounded. Anything can happen here. If you'd seen her yourself. Thank God I didn't. Come on, I'll get you some water. I described my encounter with that creature in detail to everyone. I can tell you one thing. Science can't explain whatever's going on here at the moment. Science, it's utter devilry happening here. A hand of Satan. I wish we had a church nearby to light a candle. Lena said nothing, resorting to quiet sobbing. I'd almost completely recovered, and now I was able to think straight. Now it's perfectly clear that we have to get out of here. Well, I'm not a real scientist, let alone a paranormalist, but if I recall correctly, all these demons and spirits are bound to a certain place. Therefore, if we get away from this place... Now that's an excellent solution. Masha grinned skeptically. I agree. I exclaimed, ignoring her. Yeah. Lena just gave a barely noticeable nod. So, it's all settled. I slammed my fist on the table and searched my feet. Hold on, it's not like we all agreed on that. Why would we hesitate? I seriously wouldn't want a second encounter with a thing like that. Where will we go? Do you even realize how long it would take to reach the city on foot? Aw, do you really think that nobody ever rides that road? A car, a bus, whatever, we'll get something eventually. I wouldn't be so sure. So you think that's better to stay here? Well, I didn't say that. It's scary here, especially at night, Lena whispered quietly. That still doesn't mean that we have to go anywhere, said Masha out loud. I gave her a narrow look. No, something I started changing her. Perhaps I should have a gentle talk with her about it. Or perhaps I shouldn't. Maybe she'd also... Okay, let's take a vote. I said that in quite a confident tone, yet I still had my doubts. What if Masha's right? Perhaps we shouldn't be running around aimlessly. On one hand, I have no idea what awaits us beyond the gates of this camp. On the other hand, it's really all hell breaking loose here. Okay, she shrugged. And still, I won't stand for another minute here. Leaving. Staying. Let's try it. Maybe when you get lucky and catch a ride. Leaving. Everyone turned their eyes towards Lena. I don't want to stay here. It seems like my decision wasn't going to affect the outcome anyway. So, let's get going. Well, I sprang to my feet. Everyone else remained seated with their heads down. Since we decided, Masha got up slowly looked at me. What about our stuff? Asked Alyssa awkwardly. Do you really think that we should care now? Mumbled Router gloomily. Well, you're probably right. Well, in my case, my stuff has already vanished somewhere. Okay, let's see if the bus gets here and then it'll be done. In a few minutes, we are staying at the bus stop. The city is that way. Masha gestured at the horizon. It was there the day before yesterday. I grinned. Yeah, that way. Router confirmed. We paused in silence for a few moments, and then slowly headed off towards our destination. Oh. The summer sun was unbearably scorching, making the asphalt melt. Everything a few hundred feet away, the road, the trees, the grass, the sky, was melting in a bright heat haze that looked more like a burning fog. I was streaming with sweat and was starting to think that I was getting sunstroke. Sure, it would have been a great idea to bring more water with us, but back when we were resetting, only thing we could think of was getting our butts as far as possible from that camp. Eventually, I felt like I was about to lose consciousness. Only the wretched trills of the grasshoppers kept me in touch with reality. Of course, the hellish noon is indeed their favorite part of the day. They couldn't care less about the scorching heat, zero humidity, or the lack of any kind of air movement. On the contrary, they felt great. It was a perfect backdrop for the final act of their last apocalyptic activity. We probably should have stayed in the camp after all. Or at least we should have started this hike later, closer to the evening. although wandering the unknown country road at night is hardly a good idea either. The sound of a stifled cry came from behind me. 100 feet away, Alyssa was barely holding up Lena, keeping her from collapsing to the ground. Ah! I dashed up to them. What's the matter? She's fainted. I helped to carry Lena to the roadside. There was at least some shade from a small grove. And that concludes our hike, said Masha in a gloomy mood, sinking down to the grass. I warned you. Fine, but what does it change now? Been traveling for at least a couple of hours, so thinking of heading back to the camp was pointless. Well, at least until the evening, when the heat will decrease a bit. And we still haven't seen a single car. I turned around and looked at Router. He pulled off his shirt and began to wring the sweat out of it. Alyssa was trying to revive Lena. If that's sunstroke... Stop! She shouted at me. If that's indeed sunstroke, we've gotten ourselves in deep trouble. She won't make it anywhere. I walked towards the road, shielded my eyes from the sun with my hand, and stared into distance. Nothing but that same asphalt thread leading beyond the horizon with no signs of civilization, or any signs of human presence at all. It was like we're the only people left, not only in the camp, but in the whole world. Though if you think about what has happened before, it's really not a big surprise. I went back to the others and sat down on the log. I guess we have to scout ahead. I looked at Router. To check what's ahead, maybe we could find something, and you just stay here for a while. But she can't go anywhere right now anyway. Lena was lying with her eyes closed and gasping for air. Okay, go ahead, said Masha calmly. It just occurred to me that I planned to have a talk with her, but it's definitely not the time for that now. Let's go. Router shrugged his shoulders and followed me. We kept walking for about 15 minutes. The girls were left far behind. What do you think? Any chance of us meeting somebody? He asked quietly. I don't know, I replied in an annoyed tone. I really wanted to refrain from talking now. The endless field stretched to the horizon, sparsely sprinkled with patches of trees and hills. The landscape looked so typical and tranquil that, in fact, it caused anxiety. If we found ourselves in the plains of hell, at least we would expect to be attacked from just anywhere, so we could brace ourselves and prepare for the worst. Now we felt just like little droplets of paint on the canvas of a nameless painter who paints the summer in central Russia, or wherever we are now. All this only made our fear stronger. Look! Yelled Router. I narrowed my eyes and saw that the road took a turn. So, what's so special? There must be something there. What makes you think that? Well, since there's a turn, we've been walking straight forward all the time, and now... Okay, let's go and take a look. In a few minutes we finally came to the gates of the Slavyana pioneer camp. I collapsed down the curve and buried my face in my hands. I didn't feel scared. In fact, I didn't feel any emotions at all, just the fatigue and the void inside of me. But, how? Mumbled Router. No idea. Besides, what's the difference anyway? It's not like this is any stranger than anything else that's happening to me in the last few days. I looked up at him, feeling exhausted. Router's lips were trembling, an expression of deathly horror was plastered on his face. Let's go back and fetch the girls. I didn't wait for him and just shuffled off back to where we left them. Found anything? Asked Masha, chewing on some strawberries with an uncertain origin. We did a camp. What camp? She looked surprised. Our camp. What? Masha looked so silly now, so I couldn't help flashing an ironic smile. But you were going forward, not backward. Forward, and Sylvianok is there. Hey, stop joking, she exclaimed. I'm dead serious. But, said Alyssa quietly. She was sitting down on the grass and cradling the head of Lena, who was still sleeping. Yeah, just like that, I said tiredly and dropped down to the ground. Okay, it means we're heading there. I looked at Masha keenly and suddenly realized that I can't wait anymore. Hey, what's happening with you? What do you mean? Her look screamed that now isn't the time for breezy chatter. You were scared to death yesterday, yet today you have this happens to me all the time attitude. But what's the point in panicking? She cracked a very visible smile. If I didn't know you... I went quiet, but my lip and turned away. But really, do I know her that well? Sure, we spent so many years together, but if you get down to it, I always thought more about myself. Or rather, I always believed that she was completely satisfied. And she was always the same to me. The same at just about anything, even when we're breaking up. As if she wasn't a real person, just my favorite article of clothing. Thinking about it, I have no idea what's going on in her soul. I just never cared about it. Thus, her behaving like this under the circumstances doesn't seem more bizarre than anything else that's happening to us. And if you think about that talk at the beach 2 evenings ago, she probably really is stronger than me. Hey, are you listening to me at all? Oh, sorry, I got carried away. So much has happened. She looked at me sternly. Let's get going to the camp, or wherever you were, if it's the same old camp. Alright. In fact, it's not like we had any other choice. A few more hours in the scorching heat would only yield more casualties. But we have to carry her along. Yes, just a sec. Let me figure it out. I found two fairly long and sturdy sticks in the nearby grove. Coming back, I ordered Router to take his shirt off. He tried to object, but soon enough he realized that there was no use in arguing. I took off my shirt as well, and we made a stretcher, attaching the fabric to the poles. Yeah. Well, hold. Masha gave our device a questioning look, but ultimately gave it a few strong pulls, ensuring its strength, and smiled. It will, at least until we reach the camp. It was hard to go in this heat, but it was even harder to carry the injured, that is, Lena. Several times I almost fainted and barely caught myself halfway to the ground. Ryder felt even worse. Both Masha and Alyssa were swapping places with him every now and then. Still, my pride won't allow me to task them to carry Lena even for a minute. Sure, it's silly to act like this under these circumstances, but I couldn't help myself. This is yet another flaw in my personality, along with coldness and attentiveness to the others, even my loved ones, and other less than noble traits. Finally, we somehow made it to the camp gates, and I collapsed to the grass in the shadow of the unknown pioneer statue, completely worn out. It actually is our camp. Masha lingered on the words. And indeed, it looks the same. We have to carry her to a cabin, Alyssa mentioned quietly. Yeah, I got up with considerable effort and prepared for the last run. The obvious choice was Olga Dmitrievna's cabin, most likely because we managed to come through the last night here without any major problems. At least we were still alive. Me and Router were sprawled exhausted on one bed, and the girls were undressing Lena on the other. Don't look, said Masha sternly. It's not like there's anything worth looking at. I started and turned away, giving Router a harsh poke in the ribs, making him fall on my lead. We're gonna get some water, and probably rummage through the canteen, too. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this. Wanna come along? She grinned. No thanks, at least take that pipe with you, I said uncertainly. Do you really think it will help? I sighed heavily and closed my eyes. Well, be careful then. The door closed after a second. You sleep? Router's whisper reached me. As if one could sleep here. All at once I heard Lena moan from the other bed. I sat up on my elbows and looked at her. Lena was tossing and turning under the blanket. Suddenly she opened her eyes and abruptly turned to face me. A devil's grin was frozen in her face. The same one I saw yesterday evening. Hot enough for you, eh? She burst into laughter. I felt a shiver run down my spine, my ability to speak vanished. What? I asked Router through his sleep. I turned to him sharply. Look! I waved my hands, pointing at Lena's bed. What? He got up and looked where I was pointing at first, then back at me. I turned around and just saw Lena sleeping peacefully. Didn't you hear it? What? Lena was awake and said, Oh, it seems like you've got sunstroke too. He turned towards the wall, but I'm absolutely sure that I heard and saw it. Well, it could be true that the heat got to me at last, but it all seems to be exactly like that time. And it wasn't Lena. At the very least, it's not the Lena I knew, as if she's possessed by the devil. Oh, did Lena kill Sasha? Ooh, I lay down and pulled a blanket over my head. I really wanted to sleep, but the realization that I might never wake up again if I fall asleep now was keeping me up and running. I'm not sure how long I spent lying like that, trembling at every rustle, but eventually the door burst open and steps were down in the room. I barely peered out from under the blanket and caught a glimpse of Alyssa and Masha entering with a bucket of water and some bags. I see you went a bit cuckoo here. Yeah, sorta. I replied with a trembling voice, trying to flash a smile. Everything's okay? Oh, that was fast-paced. Jeez, seems like it. I glanced at Lena yet again, but she was still sleeping quietly. Maybe it was indeed just my imagination. Sure, given a condition of such extreme emotional stress and physical fatigue, I might be seeing things. I got up with considerable effort. I took a cup from the table and scooped up some water. So, what are we doing next? We'll have to stay here for now. But Olga Dmitrievna has called the police, muttered Alyssa. Yeah, but everyone disappeared after that. In any case, until Lena comes to her senses. Although if I ever happen to see her like that again, I would frankly rather that she doesn't wake up. Alyssa lay down on Lena's bed, and Masha sat down next to me. Get some sleep. She gently stroked the top of my head. Can you really sleep with all this happening? We'll keep guard. You look really tired. I guess she was right. Okay, but just a nap. Wake me up before evening. She didn't say a word, just smiled instead. Promise. I promise, replied Masha quietly. I closed my eyes and instantly tumbled into a dream. It's a dream. Here they come again, the grasshoppers. Oh no. This time it's their king, a huge swamp green monstrosity with really long curved legs, wings that would match the wingspan of a large airliner, and enormous pitch black eyes. He was hanging over me, grinning and spluttering something really loud. I still didn't understand anything of their language, but judging by the tone, it wasn't anything nice that you would hear in the morning news. I wanted to get away, but he clutched me tightly with his wretched claw. I could hear my bones cracking, feel my ribs breaking, piercing my internal organs with their sharp splinters. I felt hundreds of hammers smashing inside my skull. My vision faded, and next moment, fountains of blood and flesh were spraying all over the place. This guy is so scared of grasshoppers. I jumped up in a cold sweat, my own scream still reverberated in the room. It took me several seconds to clear the dimness from my eyes. I looked around frantically and realized that it was the evening already, and it was completely dark outside. Good grief, we didn't turn off the light yesterday. Masha was lying asleep next to me, while Router was curled up on the floor. Lena was lying on the other bed, tightly wrapped in a blanket. Yet Alyssa was nowhere to be seen. Hey! I woke Masha up with a few rough prods. What? She slowly came to her senses. Didn't I ask you? Sorry, I fell asleep. She had such a guilty expression on her face that I felt sick. I should have relied on her. At least I could have set up an alarm. I woke Router up. Where's Alyssa? I don't know, said Masha worriedly. Well, who does know? We were all asleep. Well, she was sleeping here, and then... Her eyes darted around guiltily. And then you fell asleep. She hung her head and let out a heavy sigh. Oh, perfect. Just perfect. I pounded my fist on the table, making Masha jump. Okay, you sit here, and we'll go and find her. Alone? Her face suddenly took on an expression of fright. Alone? Wasn't it you who told me that it's not worth panicking? Yeah, but it's not. Okay. Oh, fine. I'll go alone. But... Or do you really want to sit here with only Lena? Masha kept silent. It's dangerous to go alone. I noticed that Router seemed to have fully awakened. And it's not dangerous for her to sit here all alone. I felt that there was no point in arguing, so I got up, grabbed my trusty pipe, and headed for the door. In any case, given that people have been disappearing into thin air, one can't feel safe anywhere or in any company. Of course, it still could turn out that Alyssa just went somewhere. To the toilet, for example. Although, given how frightened she looked, I guess she would have woken up Masha or just have held it till morning. Anything but going all alone through the camp. I braced myself, pulled the handle, and went outside. I swept my eyes across the landscape, and then... Oh no! No! I saw Alyssa, hanging high above the ground from the tree right in front of the cabin. A sharp pain pierced my temples, and I collapsed to the ground. The horror was so overwhelming that I literally felt my whole body being bound in steel chains. Blinded with fear, I barely managed to crawl back into the cabin and close the door. No! What happened? Masha rushed over to me. Don't look! I grasped her arm. Don't go outside. What's the matter? She reached out for the door handle. I attempted to stop her, but I was so weak that I could only let out a groan of despair. Opening the door, Masha screamed and froze in her tracks. Gathering my last ounces of strength, I got up and kicked the door shut. The next moment, Masha fainted and fell back into my arms. I carried her to the bed and was put down next to the shaking Router. His face told me that he's definitely not interested in knowing what happened there. All these screams woke Lena up. She rose slightly in her bed and gave us a glance. What's happening? She asked in a whisper. I didn't know how I should reply. I felt a scream rising up in my throat, and I managed to muffle it to a hollow sigh. Lena was horrified, but she still didn't realize what exactly had happened here. Don't go outside, I moaned. Unlike Masha, she wasn't one to argue. An oppressive silence ensued. Even the grasshoppers seemed to quiet down in order to add suspense to the situation. Masha was still lying on my lap. Router was still quivering in the corner of the bed, and Lena was sitting in front of me with an expression of doom and despair on her face. I stared at the door with an unblinking gaze, waiting for the moment it will burst open, and my fear couldn't manifest in any concrete form. A homicidal maniac, a monster, an alien. It was the horror of the unknowable darkness and emptiness. I wasn't afraid that I would be torn to pieces just like Slavia, or I would become a zombie like Oliana. I was afraid to disappear, vanish without a trace from this world. Masha let out a quiet moan. I just had such a nightmare. It wasn't a dream. She opened her eyes wide and looked at me with horror. Then, there. Don't look. I shouted and hastily embraced her. Lena started crying loudly, ran up and pressed herself against me, trembling all over. Long minutes dragged on in agonizing silence. So, what are we going to do now? Asked Masha through her tears. She didn't seem so self-confident now, although we were all in the same situation. Time passed, yet nothing happened. We had to make a decision. I couldn't say that I came back to my senses after what I saw, but I still felt my mind clearing up a bit. I knew one thing for certain. We can't stay here. And it wasn't because it was more dangerous here than anywhere else. It's just because I can't endure staying near the corpse of Alyssa. I bet it's even more of a gut-wrenching experience for the girls. We have to go, I said quietly. I felt Masha and Lena hugging me even tighter. We have to. Router stopped shaking and left the bed. How are you feeling? I asked Luna. She said nothing. Can you walk? Probably. I gently escaped their embraces and got up. We have to run. At night it will be easier to go. But we... Masha tried to make a humble objection. Yeah, I know that we decided to stay, but now we have to get out of here. I turned to Router. You do realize that they shouldn't see all that? He gave a barely visible nod. Although Router didn't know what happened to Alyssa, it was obvious that his vivid imagination had conjured up so many gruesome theories during this time that he was probably even more depressed than me. Okay, we're gonna hold hands and go. I'll go first and lead the way. Masha goes next, then Lena, then you. I looked at the girls. They were sitting with their heads hanging down, sobbing quietly. Ready? Nobody replied. This was obviously a useless question. One can never be ready for such a situation. I took Masha's hand, turned around, and gave Lena and Router a serious look. Okay, now shut your eyes and don't open them no matter what. You got that? Yeah. Lena nodded. I steeled myself, burst open the door, and went out, holding Masha's hand. Watch out for the steps. When we made our way outside, I darted a final glance at Alyssa. What I saw now didn't send me sprawling on the ground, although my heart was racing frantically. I was feeling sick and dizzy, and my stomach turned. She was hanging about 5 meters above the ground. Several neckerchiefs tied together in a string were tightened around her throat. Bulging eyes, protruding tongue. Putrefaction was already at work on the body. It looked like she didn't die a couple of hours ago, but at least a couple of days. An expression of agony and human suffering was permanently frozen on her face. It was clear that she couldn't have done such a thing to herself. My God, who came up with all this? Maybe we are in hell. I hastened my steps away from the diabolical scene, dragging the others along. Ooh, maybe it was Shirk. I ordered them to open their eyes only when we reached the square. She's still there? Asked Masha, not like go with my hand. I just nodded. Who, Alyssa? Lena cried out loud and burst in tears. Masha embraced her and tried to comfort her. What happened to her? Wondered Router with a faltering tongue. I bet you don't want to know that. For a while I just stood there and looked at the moon. Lena was sobbing, Router was pacing in circles around us, and Masha sat down on the bench and buried her face in her hands. Okay, it's time, I said quietly, but nobody moved. We can't stay here. I walked to Masha, leaned over and took her hand. She raised eyes filled with tears and nodded. We slowly proceeded to the bus stop. Night has fallen on the camp. Along the way I noticed that the grasshoppers were almost quiet. Keeping silent for some time, now they resumed their nasty song, but this time it was much quieter, and I might say a little bit more respectful. Their daytime progressive noise changed to an off-turn for violin and orchestra. Is there any chance they're conscious about what's going on here? Of course, if we assume that there are grasshoppers in hell too. We came to the bus stop and stopped, hesitating. So where are we going? Asked Masha, wiping her tears. Okay, we already tried going to the right. Let's go to the left. But there's no town there. And just a couple of days ago, there was no camp to the right. Maybe we shouldn't. Lena sobbed quietly. We have no choice. I won't stay here any longer. We were just about to get moving when we heard noises approaching us from far away. I strained my eyes and caught a glimpse of someone coming down the road. A bus! Exclaimed Router with joy in his voice. Shut up, you fool. That's not a bus. People are approaching. I hissed at him. Lots of people, said Masha anxiously. It was utterly clear that we shouldn't stay here any longer. I turned around and saw someone approaching us down the road from the other direction too. The noise was getting louder. The chirping of grasshoppers, although not their usual one, a much louder, distorted version as if it had passed through a guitar amplifier. Run! I shouted, but nobody moved. Oh, screw it. I got Masha in my hands and darted back off into the camp. What is going on? This is so freaky. Those girls were fighting in a stupor, so I ended up literally dragging them along. Having dashed to the square, I stopped to catch some breath, and only then I realized that Router had been left behind. I can't stop reading. We have to get back. Get him. It's too scary. Masha screamed and shifted toward the bus stop. Are you nuts? I pulled her hand and forced her to stop. You want us all to meet the same fate? Lena was trembling so wildly that I felt my right hand shaking as it held hers. Keep running. Where to? Don't know. Into the woods. Returning to old Dimitri's cabin was an option. My self-preservation instinct also suggested that we should stay in an open area as well. We dashed towards the woods. Oh no, we're in danger. I held girl's hands tightly. I ran with difficulty, especially when Lena was sweating and bleeding. She fell a few times, but I quickly picked her up, spurring her on with shouts and dragging her on. Passing through the trees was the hardest part. Never mind, I'm not stopping. Through the full moon, though the full moon was sitting up in the sky in the dark, I was still constantly not running into snags, branches, and falling into pits. Nettles were slashing my legs and leaves were hitting me in the face, leaving painful scratches. My heart was pounding heavily, every breath I took was painfully in my legs was by the swelling so heavily in my head that it seemed like my skull was ready to burst from pressure every moment. I stopped feeling my body like I was carrying before themselves. What is going on? At last we waited to clear to stop. Exhausted, this girl fell to the ground and I sat on a fallen tree. This is so scary. Were they people or demons or something else? I'm getting so freaked out. And where's that chirping sound coming from? I couldn't make them out in the twilight, but that was probably for the best. After I slightly recovered my senses, I walked up to the girls. Lena was lying dead weight on the ground. Seems like she completely lost it. Masha was sitting, hugging non-proximate side. We have to do something. Help! Help me! Said a sat near her. It's too late. We're gonna die. She whispered in a hollow voice. We're still alive. That means there's still hope. No, there's nothing now. It's all over. I put my arms around her and held her tight. No, it's not. I want to see what's after us. Okay, I want to know what that was. I can't stop. I want to keep reading. I sat staring into the darkness of the forest. The grasshoppers could barely be heard now. If not for Masha's wayward breathing, I would think I was dead. Forgive me, she whispered quietly. For what? For everything. For me being like that. For whatever we failed to achieve. It's not the right time for that now, I said tenderly. We don't have much time left, so I'd say it's the right time. She looked up at me and faintly smiled. Forgive me, if only I hadn't been so selfish in the first place. I looked into her eyes, her bottom saw her eyes, and felt tears crossed my cheek. No, it's me, you should be sorry. I'm still ignorant of what to say in such a situation. I did so much wrong to her, caused her so much pain. Now, at the last minute, I can't think of anything other than MT. I'm sorry. I was overwhelmed with anger at my helplessness at being unable to protect the only person I held dear. You know, I always loved you. I know, she said quietly. Masha smiled again, although her face was trembling and tears were running down her cheeks. And I still love you. I know. I couldn't stand it. I longed to turn away, to close my eyes. But I can't afford weakness at this last minute. I lay down and kissed her hard. Time stood still for us. This cursed pioneer camp, the dark night, all those hellspawn, even the bloody grasshoppers just ceased to exist. The whole universe ceased to exist. Just the two of us were left. The two of us. Just when I was almost willing to believe that it was all just a bad dream, the woods came alive with rustling. The foliage far away quivered in a swarm of vague silhouettes emerged from the darkness. I still couldn't make them out, but I was certain that they are the same creatures that we'd seen at the bus stop. My whole body was stricken with dismay. I was afraid to breathe. So this is how it ends, said Masha quietly and held me tighter. No, this is not the end. Suddenly I realized that I will fight for her till the last drop of my blood, as long as there is the slightest chance of survival. I jumped up, tugged her off the ground, and rushed over to Lena. She was lying deathly pale with her eyes open, and she didn't seem to understand what was happening at all. I started shaking her by the shoulders. Get up! There was no reaction. I gave her a few slaps, and she let out a dull moan. Get up, now! As I roused Lena, she stared at me with a spaced out look. Let's run! I grabbed the girls by their hands and rushed aimlessly, the further from them, the better. I was tumbling down, getting up again, helping Lena and Masha to get up too, hewing through the dense foliage. Eventually the noise faded, leaving us with only the quiet chirping of grasshoppers. The light flickered in the distance. So now they're just running away a bunch. Oh, jeez. Soon enough, we came out into a small clearing, completely sheltered by the trees. There was a building that somehow looked like a kindergarten. What is that? I stammered. The building of the old camp, said Lena faintly. It seems that she was slowly to come back to her senses. I stopped hesitating. Sure, it was quite naive that we think that we can find shelter there. It was obvious that we can't be secure anywhere with all the stuff that's happening. This is so long. I thought reading fast would make it be fast, but no. On the other hand, we were on the verge of collapsing, especially the girls. I'm reading fast and it's still really long. This is so long. I took a few hesitant steps toward the building. When the rustling from behind reached my ears, I froze in my tracks, unable to turn around. The rustling was growing louder, and suddenly heard the diabolical chirping. Oh, my throat! I forced myself with a superhuman effort and turned around. This is... a crowd was behind me. A crowd of little girls. Or rather, a crowd of Olyanas. They were all exactly the same as that Olyana I saw this morning, with the same torn face and horribly distorted smile. And all of them made the same hellish sound, the chirping of grasshoppers, a diabolical noise that choked my heart. We froze where we stood, unable to take even a single step away. All of a sudden, one of the Olyanas came forward from the crowd and pulled the severed head of Router from behind her back. A grimace of horror was permanently frozen on his face. I almost fainted as she started to talk. Hi there, Semyon, how are you doing? Her voice felt like a bullet piercing right through my brain. I screamed and fled towards the old camp buildings, dragging the girls along. So that's what's going on. I must admit that back then I completely stopped thinking of Masha or Lena. So they were also screaming. Maybe they were shackled by horror. I do not know. The most important thing now is to get as far away as possible from these monsters. We flew into the building and immediately the ground disappeared under our feet and I fell into the darkness. I awoke in complete darkness. My whole body ached, especially my legs, but somehow I still managed to get up, leaning against the wall. The sound of the Olyanas was nowhere to be heard, which calmed me down a little. I called out in a thin voice. Masha, Lena. I heard a movement nearby and felt someone gripping my leg. I instinctively jumped back, but at the same moment a faint voice came from below. Are we still alive? Seems like it. I helped Masha get up. Okay, that's enough. There's a big army of zombie Olyanas after us. they are the ones killing everybody. How did we get from play to this? Well, this is scary. This is not exactly what I expected from a route with Miku. Okay, interesting. That's enough for this part. Bye!